Hello, this is part 3 of Critical Thinking and Pharmacology resources. In parts 1 and 2, we looked at critical thinking, specifically what makes a critical thinker. What skills do you need to have in order to be able to make judgments and accurate conclusions about information? And this is pretty important for pharmacology. This is primarily because the information about drugs is changing on a daily basis. And so new information about new drugs, new information about old drugs is constantly being presented. And because of access to the internet and access to such large amounts of information, we need to be able to very quickly identify accurate resources. So we're going to just talk briefly about where are some resources that you can get reliable information about drugs. I know that Rodney has talked to you about how do you evaluate a website, a particular website, and here are 10 key questions that you can ask about a particular website. For pharmacology types of information, so if you're looking up information about drugs, it's very important that the source is reliable. And so that's why looking for websites that have a suffix of .gov or .org or .edu is very important, because these particular websites are monitored by academic institutions and government bodies that don't have a background agenda. So they're not looking to promote one side of an argument or the other. They're just presenting information for the use of their readers. So they also are often peer-reviewed. So the information is based on research and is reviewed by other experts in that institution. So I think that's a big clue, is to look for those types of websites. You definitely want to avoid websites like Wikipedia. And although that comes up first when you usually make a Google search, for example, avoid the temptation to just click on Wikipedia and hope that the person that posted that information is an expert or is accurate. We have no way of monitoring who posts the information or who has reviewed it or any of those things. And so as a result, it can be very dangerous to simply rely on that particular resource. I'm going to post some links to some websites that I know that are reliable, but new websites come up all the time. If you locate a really good one that you think is reliable, you'd like me to take a look, feel free to just send me an email with that website. And we can, if it's a good one, we'll post it on Brightspace for everyone else as well. Drug reference guides are an excellent source for drug information. This is an example of a drug reference guide is our textbook for this year, the Complete Guide to Prescription and Non-Prescription Drugs. Drug reference guides are updated every single year, so there'll be a 2018 version, next year a 2019 version, and so on. Which drug reference guides that you pick are really based on personal preference on how the information is presented. So they will all have drug monographs. You can look up individual drugs. Some of them will contain more drugs than others. Some of them will put them together in classes. Some of them have more medical jargon, and so on. I think the biggest important thing to remember about drug reference guides is that they become outdated. So if you have a drug reference guide that your mother had back in nursing school in 1965, it is not going to be an accurate or reliable resource anymore. In general, they should be replaced every 5 years. So if you have a drug reference guide that is older than 5 years old, then I would spend the money and purchase something new, because drugs do change, they become discontinued, new ones get added to the market, and so really to be up to date you need to be within the last 5 years. Pharmacology textbooks are another great resource. They are not updated every year, so they usually have new editions every 4 or 5 years, so their information is not necessarily up to the minute current. However, they tend to look at information more from a principles point of view. So how does this group of drugs affect the body, or safe administration of medication involves these types of policies. The example on the right is one that we've used in the past when we used to use a pharmacology textbook. Now we just use the drug reference guide and PowerPoint presentations. The one on the left is an excellent pharmacology textbook. It's pretty thick and it's a little bit expensive, but it certainly has amazing information, and it's Canadian, so Pharmacology for Canadian Healthcare Practice. The Compendium of Pharmaceuticals and Specialties, or CPS, this is the Canadian, I guess, main source or largest source of drug information. And it's been published for quite a long time, every single year. It used to be only published in a hard copy, and these were really thick books that I used to save and use them as booster seats for my kids. They're published by the Canadian Pharmacists Association, and the way that it would work is that pharmaceutical manufacturers, companies, drug companies, would send their information into the CPS, and to be put into the CPS every single year, and they would compile all of this information. And so as a result, the CPS used to be organized alphabetically by brand name, and that's because all the information came directly from drug companies. They also, as years went on, they put other information into the CPS, so information on drugs that had been around for quite a long time, and they would have research studies that have come out about it, and independent groups would put together these kind of general drug monographs, as well as the specific information from the drug companies. Now this information is available in an online database, and the database has undergone a couple name changes over the year. It used to be called the eCPS, for electronic CPS version. Now it's called the RXTX. And this database is updated constantly, so rather than having to put out a whole, publish another giant book every single year, they can just continually update this database. This database contains an amazing amount of information, and I'm going to walk you through how to use some of the tools that are in this database. You can search for drug information by brand name, by generic name, by drug class, by manufacturer, by condition, so by keyword. It's amazing. It has clinical tools that you can look up drug interactions, food, how you take drugs, whether with food or without food, current Health Canada advisories, and so on. This is accessed. You need a subscription in order to access this database. The college has a subscription, and so you can access the database as long as you're a student in the college. And so how you access it, you can go to the library webpage and you look under digital resources down here, and you click on that. And that takes you into this page here, and here you can either search for RXTX, or you can just click on R here, and then the RXTX, and this is 3, so the third version of it. That's the link that takes you into the database. Special notes about access. So I have posted a link in section in Brightspace called Pharmacology Resources, where I'll put all these external links. So you can access it by clicking on the link, and you can also access it, as I just mentioned, from the library webpage. If you are on campus, as soon as you click that link, the database will open. If you are off campus, then you'll be asked to log in, and you log in using your library account. You already have an account. Your login is your student number, so that's the 9-digit number, and your PIN is the last 4 digits of your student number, and that's the password to get into your library account. Just before I show you the RXTX and show you how to use some of that, I just want to mention that being able to use the RXTX is a very important part of pharmacology. So we're going to be practicing with that. And for the online quiz for this particular week, you should have the RXTX open in a separate page and your quiz open at the same time, ideally. And that way you can look things up in the RXTX in order to be able to answer the questions. So I will post that quiz as soon as possible. The other thing is, regarding critical thinking and the changing information about drugs, I will put on optional practical activity on Brightspace as well. And I've started a new section that's called Practical Activities and Other PharmBucks Bonus Opportunities. It's on Brightspace. And this is a chance for you to put into a discussion board current events and provide some critical thinking about that. So the information will be there very shortly. By participating in this option, you can be awarded up to 100 PharmBucks or bonus marks, and this will be available until November the 26th at 5 p.m.